Hey, Conor here at Neversink Farm. I want to talk about using the transplanter, the Paperpot transplanter off-season. Early spring and late summer, fall is really the second most profitable thing about the Paperpot transplanter, meaning, its primary thing is saving you labor when it comes to planting, right? Because you're using very little labor and time to do it. But also, its second thing, which I find to be the most profitable, efficient thing about it, is being able to get crops in the ground quickly and easily in those shoulder seasons, right? Like in early spring and just before winter if you're doing winter growing. Because you want your house full of crops, and so you don't want to take them out and then have to direct seed and then have them out of production forever. You want to be able to put them into the ground as late as possible in the fall. So like this spinach, right? We want to get it in as late as possible so we can continue to sell our summer stuff or fall stuff, because this spinach is going to be for winter. In the spring, it's kind of the opposite, right? You want to get things growing as fast as possible to replace that winter crop so that you can have immediate access to selling stuff. Right, so maybe it's lettuce, maybe it's spinach, maybe it's arugula, radish, whatever. You want to jumpstart that growth by not having to direct seed. So because you would never transplant radish, you would never transplant like hackeri turnips or maybe spinach, but that would be very labor intensive. This solves that problem because now you can just start it in a tray, use a drop seeder. Nice and quick, and for very little investment. Now suddenly you're planting crops when the prices are the highest. Demand in the winter is high and there's a lot less of it, and demand in the spring is incredibly high, but there's a lot less of it, and the big boys, big farmers, are probably not going to have enough. So that's the time where small farms can really shine. Spinach, you can use a drop seeder where you do like 3-4 seeds per hole. You can actually just sprinkle it over the top too and just make sure you've covered every paper pot, and that's going to be fine either way. I always do it on a 2-inch paper pot, and you can do 4 rows, 5 rows, 6 rows, either one. If you go up to like 6 rows or above, even 5 rows, you may want to put on a narrow kit on it with narrow wheels. And we're going inside, so there's some differences in how I use it inside because you don't get a lot of runway into the bed and out of the bed. So I do the best I can into the bed, and then you can just with your hand create the channel out to the wheels. No big deal, right? So don't be afraid to paper pot indoors. If you use short beds like me, right? Even if you're using long beds, you probably still don't have a lot of ways to get into the bed. Okay, and just like always, I'm going to bury that first pot. And I gridded it, so this is going to be a 4x4 grid because I'm putting 4 rows down so I can follow the line. And then I do my best to come out of the bed and still get a trench, but it's not always successful. So that little bit may just need to be, I pull it back, make a nice trench, and just bury it. And that little bit of effort is worth it because I didn't have to transplant the whole row. Okay, and a little tip, if you have some left over, just use them to fill in. Spinach doesn't mind being buried too deep, I find. But if you feel it's too deep, very cheap broom, you can uncover them. And if they're not deep enough, then the zipper tool, you can take care of that. But if you're having constant problems with depth, just make sure you adjust it again. Because, depth problems is really about, undulations on your bed. If it's consistent, then you just have it set to the wrong depth.